This week's episode of MuggleCast is brought to you by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 75,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, non-fiction, and periodicals. For a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/MuggleCast. On August 7th, 2005.
This is MuggleCast, MuggleNet.com's brand new podcasting feature, Episode 1, for August 7th, 2005. If you haven't finished reading Book 6 yet, please do not listen to this podcast, as we do talk about several different spoilers.
Now, this is MuggleCast, MuggleNet's longtime podcasting feature, Episode 200, for June 9th, 2010. If you haven't finished reading Book 7 yet, please do not listen to this podcast, as we do talk about several different spoilers.
Hello, this is David Heyman, and I'm the producer of the Harry Potter films, and this is MuggleCast.
So first things first, Andrew. Micah and we showed up this morning on Skype to record our 200th episode of MuggleCast. And we were talking for a little while, and it occurred to us that we were missing something, the two of us. And we thought a little bit about what it was.
The magic?
No, the magic was there, because it's our 200th episode. The
heart and soul, the blood and sweat.
It was all there, Andrew, except we were missing our host.
Yeah, well,
yes.
What happened, man?
Well, I'm back in New Jersey for a couple weeks to visit the family. This is also, where I was recording MuggleCast for 3-4 years.
Your birthplace, the birthplace of MuggleCast.
Oh, that's fitting.
Yes, exactly. This is the MuggleCast Hospital ward. And so I'm still getting onto East Coast time. It's a little hard going from west to east. So I was sleeping, and at 10:06 I hear my phone ringing, and I'm like, oh no, that's Eric or Micah, and they're about to tell me that it's 10 o'clock, and I overslept. So I'm sorry, guys, for not being up. I was planning on being up 2 hours early. I was going to polish the show. But oh well, you guys did it for us.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising, because normally you're always online. I mean, even when you're 30,000 feet in the air, you're online. So
right.
To wake up this morning as we approach our 200th episode and not to see you online, we got a bit worried.
Yeah. Did you feel like after we interviewed you on the last episode of MuggleCast that was it, that you could just kick back?
Yeah, there's nowhere else I needed to go. That was good. But anyway, welcome everyone to our 200th episode. We have reached a very nice milestone, and we're so happy to say that we have an exclusive interview with the producer of the Harry Potter franchise, David Heyman. Micah and Eric conducted this interview a couple weeks ago. We said to WB, we're entering our 200th episode. We would love it. Could you please get us David Heyman? And they were so nice about it. We got hooked up with Mr. Heyman. He was such a nice guy. It was a great interview. Micah and Eric did a great job, came up with some great questions, and David was very into it. I mean, he is a Potter fan, so you're going to love this interview. And we have, we got news and the usual stuff coming up on this week's episode. So let's get into it for the 200th time. I'm Andrew Sims.
I'm Eric Skull.
And I'm Micah Tannenbaum.
was nice. The 200th time. That was really nice.
Should I start every segment with "for the 200th
Yes,
time"?
yes, absolutely.
Micah, for the 200th time, what's in the news this week?
Wow, I don't even know how to respond to that, Andrew. That's just 200 times. The MuggleCast.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it would be fair to say if this is the 200th episode, we've probably discussed about like 1,000 news stories.
Oh,
because we
at
average
least.
about 5 news stories.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
pretty amazing.
1,000 separate news stories. See, people said there wasn't that much news in Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of news, how about MuggleNet 2.0? I mean,
Yes.
it launched finally. We talked about it on last week's show, but I don't think it made the cut.
Right, because we were having launch problems. So
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. And I even said in that recording, Eric was like, is it going to be out by the time this episode's out? And I said, Eric, if it's not out, I'm going to be curled up in a corner, crying uncontrollably. But yeah, so we had technical difficulties. But now it's out, MuggleNet.com. You'll see the brand new website. I love this, and I may be biased because I pretty much designed the whole thing, but I love this website. And if you guys haven't checked it out, definitely go to MuggleNet. It's a whole new design. We got new features. This site is packed with new features, but the greatest thing is that it actually loads faster than the old MuggleNet did. And that's a testament to the coding behind this. I'm a bit of a coding nerd, and the way this thing is coded, it's a dream.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we got lots of new features. Do you guys like the new design?
I'm a big fan of the trivia, and
Yeah.
I've spent a little bit of time programming all of that, but so I guess I'm a little bit biased in that sense. Go and play trivia right now, sign up and enjoy yourselves. But I just like the way the site has been laid out. It's just really clean look. It's easy to navigate, and
It
I know
catches your eye.
people were a little bit hesitant early on, but I think it's all because of change. We discussed this amongst ourselves, and it takes a little bit to get used to, but I think the ability to share stories right away on Facebook and Twitter, that's really gone up, and people seem to be commenting a lot more opinionated. And I like refreshing the did you knows and looking at the quotes and the flashbacks and things like that, because you forget exactly how much has gone on over the course of the last 10 years.
Exactly. I think this was something that would, if this were MuggleNet when it first started out, we may have looked for something different. As a 2.0, now that there is all this information, to have it categorized like this is great. And there always was a lot to do on MuggleNet, but now with version 2.0, you can see visually on the page different things like, the flashback and the trivia and the quote. All of that is arranged in such a way that I think it wows you, and it's not overwhelming. But at the same time, you get to, it's a visual representation of all the things that have gone on and will go on. Like, even the video player is just a great feature.
And the idea was behind some of the features here, like flashback, did you know, and of course quote, which we've had for a while, and even trivia, is that every time you load the page, you're going to see something new. And most commented, big news, top commenters, those boxes are dynamic, so they'll be changing as the users basically shape the website with commenting on stories. When there's a very popular story, it'll go up to the list of it'll go into the most commented box, and that helps people see what is hot lately on MuggleNet. And I love that feature.
Yeah, we need to get welcome to the all new MuggleNet.com to shift off that a little bit. But
well, here's a fun fact: it'll display the top most commented stories of the past 30 days.
Oh, okay.
So it will. That thing will change eventually.
But those 3 tabs, I think it allows the users to feel a lot more, interactive with the site, because what they're doing ultimately determines, maybe with the exception of big news, what is hot and what people are talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
The themes too. I was just going to bring that up. People have been asking. We're going to create more. For those of you who are wondering, we just needed a set to kind of get started with.
Yeah.
And yes, I did push the Lego version.
Well, Micah was like, "Create a Lego version. Create a Lego version."
I have the Lego version as my theme.
Yeah, it's good. I like that one. Yep. Visit MuggleNet.com and check it out. Before moving along, we'd like to remind everyone again that this podcast is brought to you by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 75,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, featuring audio versions of many New York Times bestsellers. For listeners of MuggleCast, Audible is offering a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their great service. One audiobook we'd recommend is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. You all know it's a classic story, and now you can get it for free. Just visit audiblepodcast.com/MuggleCast. That's audiblepodcast.com/MuggleCast. What else is going on, Micah?
Well, the other big news the last couple weeks has been the Wizarding World theme park. We're just about 12 days away from it opening when we're recording right now, but it did soft open to the public, and we got a pretty in-depth look from InsideTheMagic.net. They had videos and photos from their trip within the park. And if you don't want to spoil yourself, I would advise not looking at these videos. I know a lot of people in the comments said, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to wait till I get down there myself and, experience it. But we got to look at the Forbidden Journey queue, the Hogsmeade entrance to Hogwarts Castle, Ollivander's Flight of the Hippogriff. There's really no place that they didn't go and shoot video. So
yeah.
I took a look at some of it. We also had a review of the Forbidden Journey ride. I didn't look at that at all, so I don't have any news to report on that. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? That one that we posted is spoiler free.
Oh, is
and
it?
He actually, yeah. So you can check that out. That I did read that.
Well, I wouldn't draw attention to it. I don't really like this review. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's a crap review.
Well,
it's
it
kind of
wasn't
like, hey, it's spoiler free, but at the same time, it's not really, they say, oh, I must emphasize again that this is nothing like you've seen before, but yet they say it's like lacking story.
Like, it's a big mashup, yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's sort of what I expected, because if you're gonna make a Harry Potter ride,
you need to sum things up.
You gotta mash it all together,
That's
and fans really won't mind that, I don't think.
I don't think so either. Like the Back to the Future ride, for instance, was, I mean, I guess they created an all-new story. If you remember it, I guess it either burned down or it was closed. It's now The Simpsons at Universal. But at any rate, that was like a new story in the Back to the Future universe. It was short. There was like some kind of time travel. Biff had stolen the DeLorean for the umpteenth time. And
I think I went on that ride about 10 years ago.
It was a great ride. It was great. It had its own score, which I'm sure this does. So I compare that a lot to it, and I think that's what Universal rides are all about. So I think the lack of specificity on the part of this review was kind of what upset me. Like, if you're going to go to the park and review the ride that's most talked about, I think, I don't know, maybe I should search their site for a better review of it.
Well, Andrew,
he also just did post a spoiler review, so. if you want to be spoiled,
now
you can
that I
look at
can,
that,
I don't know that I want to be.
Go ahead, Micah.
Well, I was going to say that you and I will be down there for the opening of the park in about a week and a half or so. So if you want real reviews, I'm sure Andrew and I will be doing something.
Well, I gotta say,
possibly a podcast.
This guy, this Inside the Magic guy, his name's Ricky. He's really cool, and obviously he's done a great job with coverage. I mean, he's gotten some amazing HD videos of the park.
Yeah, the videos are good. The videos are really good.
But Micah and I will be down there. Universal was very nice to give us 3 tickets to the grand opening, and we'll be going, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll post a review, absolutely. There will be a lot of coverage. I got my video camera and my photo camera, and I'm not gonna overdo it, because at this point people have seen tons of photos, but I think the main focus of the reporting will be on the grand opening itself, because, a lot of stars will be there.
Absolutely. So. I'm going to go check out the Hogshead and see if, Aberforth is in.
Another thing I found out through the soft opening is that they are serving authentic UK beer.
Wow.
Yes, they are.
And that includes Stella. Oh, well, I don't know if Stella's
Artois?
An English beer, but yeah, Stella Artois. Strongbow, that is a very popular cider in England. I love Strongbow. I had some a couple months ago in England. So a lot of authentic beer, and then right next to it is the Hogshead beer.
They
spout,
have their own brew.
Yeah. So Very cool, very cool. I gotta say, I'm pretty satisfied with all this, how the park's looking.
Yeah. And now there's a store at the airport with some of the merchandise. How did that surprised me. What did you guys think of that?
Well, because Universal has a store in the airport, so I guess it makes sense to sell it there.
Yeah, but it's kind of a little bit premature in my opinion, because the park hasn't really officially opened yet. So to have that store there, I mean, it kind of takes away a little bit.
Yeah, it does, because it has exclusive merchandise. I mean, But this is
a good way to promote the Wizarding World, because when people go into that store in the airport, they see all this cool merchandise, so they're like, "Wow, all this is there." I've never been able to find this anywhere else.
I'll see how really cool it is. You and I will check it out.
You should broadcast from the airport store.
I know the pictures look good. I mean, they are selling a lot of merchandise at this theme park that you cannot get anywhere else.
Yeah,
it's expensive though. But
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not surprising. But the other big news of the last few weeks was Deathly Hallows. The epilogue, I think, is complete in terms of filming. We had a lot of video, a lot of photos from this epilogue scene, and wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what we saw, looking at Draco and Ron and Harry. Not too much of Hermione, very few photos actually. We did get to see Ginny as well as all of the kids. Looking at this, I thought they looked, at least from Draco's standpoint, a little bit too old. I mean, they're only in their 30s.
Yeah, this is a bit worrying, and a lot of people were saying this in the comments as well. Personally, I agree. Draco looks a little too old. Harry looks a little too old. But I think there's in a way, it is a bit unfair to judge already, because when it gets on film, the lighting's going to be different. They're going to be shooting these guys from different angles. They may even do some digital touch-up. They may realize, oh my god, I think they looked way too old.
That's actually extremely true, because I guess it's good to add more wrinkles and more detail that you can take out, as opposed to trying to.
And that's true. Yeah.
So the computer. So maybe they will look younger. I mean, one of the photos of Dan, he looks younger. Like, he has a huge forehead. But but he looks really young, and then in the other one that we saw with him and Ginny, he looks quite a bit older. But I think it's too soon to judge. I think the important thing is that these aren't official videos. That I'm sure if WB had their way, these photos wouldn't exist. And frankly, I don't know that. I mean, I just think that I think it is too soon, and I think we should wait for official kind of material to.
Yeah. No. Well, that's right.
I will say the women and children all look good. They don't look too old. The kids look right. Bonnie looks good, and her Emma, who plays Hermione, of course, she didn't look too old either. I think they did the least to her, actually. We saw one or two pictures.
Yeah,
it's because she's got a contract with Burberry. She can't age too much or appear to have aged in anything.
Oh man, that could be true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, we can't judge too much just yet, but it was cool to see all these pictures coming out of the filming of the epilogue.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close. We only got probably 2 weeks left of filming for them, and then it's all a wrap. We've been hearing from different actors that are done filming. I know the Phelps twins are done. Chris Rankin is done.
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis is done now, so it's slowly coming to an end. I remember when we posted a couple months ago that Alan Rickman had finished filming, everybody was starting to realize that this is all slowly but surely coming to an end.
Yeah, I would say this may be the week coming up, or the week you're listening to this episode, and maybe the final week, because they had about 2 weeks left, and that was a week ago at least. It may have been more. I mean, they could be done now.
Well, we saw also the touch-up shots. You guys remember this that were posted? The reshoots, the Deathly Hallows.
Yeah,
reshoots,
they were doing reshoots,
where they're in the field and stuff. And this is pretty cool. I mean, because it's, again,
is that post-production work in a way?
It's kind of. It's like either if they didn't get the scene they wanted the first time, or if they realized upon seeing an edited, a rough cut copy, that they could use filler, or if they have pushed scenes off, like little clips, like into, then they'll go back and reshoot it.
Yeah, they could just not be happy with what they shot. About a year ago. They were filming those same scenes about a year ago.
Yeah.
Because photos leaked from it that time too. So.
Right. Well, and that was with Slytherin's locket, and I know David Heyman talked a little bit about that in the interview. So.
Yeah, but we did miss the epilogue. We didn't get to talk to him about the epilogue. He did mention about it. But as far as the mass hordes of pictures and videos happened like a few days after we interviewed him, so that will not be on the interview. I just feel like I should prepare people who are looking just for that.
Yeah, but I think also, though, anytime you film in a public place like that, you're opening yourself up to photos and videos, and that's just the nature of what happened here.
I mean, surely they built a King's Cross set, right, for the scene where Harry's in the afterlife, or not? I mean, do you think they filmed that at King's Cross too?
Well, they could probably do that at Leavesden with a bit of green screen work, I think, because it doesn't necessarily have to all be replicated
just like
of
a pillar,
King's
right?
Cross, because it's kind
foggy.
of a foggy... exactly. So, another bit of news, we got to look at some of the props that are going to be used in Deathly Hallows, specifically The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. We got to look at that book, and A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot. So those are two books that play a big role in the final film.
I love the cover of Life and Lies.
I thought they did a good job with that.
I like History of Magic better.
Very Rita Skeeter-ish.
I think, it is very Rita Skeeter-ish. It's kind of like a tabloid-esque, cover.
Yeah, but the theme with all these is that they're definitely very authentic. I mean, such cool props.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of...
Well, in such detail. I mean, if you look and you read through some of the pages that they took pictures of, there's actual content on there.
Like relevant content. Like the Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore, the book's open and you can read the story. And I assume that story is the one that...
I was asking if that was, in the book.
Yeah, a sample of it. I mean, but this can't be the whole story, of course. I mean, it must be the same pages.
Well, I
duplicated.
feel like it only has the pages that they're going to show on film. Like...
Right.
The rest would be, lorem ipsum nunquam. Yeah.
I just noticed on like the backside of the cover, when you see the open page picture of Life and Lies, you can see Rita's face on along the side.
Oh, really?
It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Didn't she say she wasn't coming back? Hang on.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this on a couple episodes ago. She did end up coming back.
But such a huge part. Such a huge part.
But I think it was just to do some quick reshoots.
Oh yeah, you're right. There is her face on the. It's kind of like, I guess, a book cover or the inlay of the book. That's very cool. Yeah, that is a very cool touch.
Speaking of casting, Peter Mullan is going to be playing, or Mullen, sorry, as Yaxley, the Death Eater, and it's good to know, since he's in the opening scene of Deathly Hallows, that he will be in the movie.
Micah, why are we getting this news so late?
I don't know. The other piece was that Ninette Finch has been cast as Augusta Longbottom, and so these small little pieces of casting news, I guess they needed to get out there before the movie starts being highly publicized, because these were two characters. Well, actually more so. I remember we talked a little bit about that on the show. We had never heard any information as to who was cast for him, and the others were the Dumbledores. That family. Did they cast them? Because there's obviously a lot of backstory there, and it's good to know. Like I said, Yaxley, he plays a big role in the opening scene with Snape, and then obviously in the Ministry.
Well, that's the thing about this whole casting thing. Like, WB didn't announce it. Nobody announced it. It was just put on their websites, right? The actors' website.
Right.
And I think that's why it comes out so late, just because...
Like when the actors themselves get around to it?
Yeah. I don't even think they were allowed to, because they were allowed to post that, because WB is always so secretive. And by the way, the pictures of those props, WB can't be happy with that either. I mean, they keep everything under tight wraps. So...
But, with these two, I think the thing is that they also weren't included on that press release that WB sent out.
Those were minor.
That's where we learned about
minor characters,
Miranda Richardson.
Yeah, that is where we learned about Miranda Richardson. And one other thing, actually, while we're mentioning, what WB does and doesn't care about anymore, if these photos, this is a compliment, the epilogue photos, they didn't complain a bit. But, with Half-Blood Prince filming, I remember some pictures of filming from that came out, and they asked us to take it down. Fine, whatever. But, the epilogue is something I would think you would want to keep you would want it to stay under tight wraps because you want to do a big reveal of how they actually look. So I'm kind of surprised they actually didn't complain about the epilogue pictures.
My theory on that is that the epilogue is such a huge and unique deal to everybody. Like, I remember when Deathly Hallows came out.
It's everybody's seen.
It's important because it's the end of the series, and I think it's symbolic that, I think they knew that people were going to seek it out, and I think, due to the very nature of the epilogue, that many people wish it had never been included in the Deathly Hallows book. I'm not one of them, but I think that is safe to say that a lot of people didn't like it, the way that it ended or whatever. But it's a conclusion. It's separate from the movie. It's not like if you reveal some photos of the epilogue, it's not like you're going to get a secret glimpse into what the rest of the movie is like.
I know, but I'm just saying it's ruining the surprise of the epilogue.
Yeah, that it is. I mean, I would have been. I was interested in seeing, the makeup and all of that, for the first time on screen.
Yeah.
Like, perhaps without.
But I think it goes back to what I was saying before, though, is anytime you do it in a public place, you risk the exposure, and there's no way to really control that. I mean, it's one thing if one photo leaks out online and, the fan sites pick it up and post it. It's completely different if you're filming in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people who walk through that station every day. There's nothing that you can do about that.
So they went into it knowing, photos are going to come out.
Probably.
Okay, Micah, what else is going on?
Well, there was a little bit of a clip that aired for Deathly Hallows.
Finally!
Oh
my goodness.
What are you guys saying finally for? What do you mean by that?
Because the last clip we saw came out about 6 or 7 months ago now, it's been, when the Half-Blood Prince DVD came out. So this is basically our second batch of footage. And I mean...
It's not really a trailer. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah...
It's not, and that's what upset me. Because
it was a sneak peek. They never promised a trailer, though. Keep that in mind.
I don't know. I get the feeling that the press release said just from part 1 or something, but it's another preview of clips from both films, actually. And I just get the feeling like by this time I expected a trailer for part 1. Like, sure, it's cool to see some things about part 2, but it's like a year and a half away or whatever. Actually, no, just a year. Wow.
Well, remember, we found out a few weeks ago that the first trailer will be coming at the end of this month, so...
Well, that's good, but at the same time, like this, I just don't know why they're showing us stuff from part 2. Like, sure, they filmed them at the same time, but it's like, I want to start getting excited about part 1 and only part 1. You know what I'm saying?
You're not going to get that much of a look into part 2. It's just not going to happen. I think probably with the MTV Movie Awards, what they did was they gave them the best of what they had to offer.
Yeah, what stood out to me, first of all, that shot of the dragon. And down in Gringotts. That was awesome. And what this tells me, and we saw a few scenes, not just the Gringotts with the dragon, but we also saw a couple shots of Voldemort, and we saw the protection around Hogwarts. So they have a lot of the special effects done, and they look great. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah, I agree. I didn't get too excited with the protection around Hogwarts. It looked a little odd, to be honest with you. It looked like the giant blob from horror movie lore was surrounding itself around the castle.
And the bubble was quite large. Wasn't it? The bubble was quite large. It was not just around Hogwarts, like proper, like the actual castle. It was around, everything from like the lake. It was a really far out shot. It was pretty ridiculous. Like wherever they would be attacking from, that the bubble is breaking, it just seemed like the bubble was far too large. Like the Hogwarts was very small inside it, and I don't understand that.
The first time I saw it, I didn't even realize that was Hogwarts in there. Like, because it looked so dim.
The low quality version was kind of bad for that. I think I remembered. I really thought Voldemort was on the train tracks in front of the Hogwarts Express.
That's what it looked like to me too, wasn't it?
When I first saw it, yeah, it wasn't though. I think it's the Caro guy for some reason. Like it's not Voldemort, because if you
I'm going to try and find the timestamp.
Yeah, it's definitely a Death Eater. It's not Voldemort, but I wonder if they went for that special effect overhead because that gives them sort of the Deathly Hallows book cover look, possibly, when the battle happens in the Great Hall.
What do you mean overhead?
Well, they have this thing that looks like a darkened sky / blob thing that's over Hogwarts, and I'm saying that's very similar to the cover of the book. You know what I mean?
I thought it was like planet Earth at first on fire or something. 'Cause it looks like a few continents in the ocean. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what to think about. I guess it's all right if you can see Hogwarts through it, but just a quick glimpse, which is what the sneak peek shows. Maybe at the theme park, they're going to be able to put this around the castle there. That'd be pretty cool.
But a couple of things that I picked out of this, which I didn't really get, number one was Hedwig being sent off at the very beginning. Doesn't she get the boot? To a powder puff of feathers.
I guess he's...
Unless they decided not to kill her.
There's no way they didn't kill her. What if this was before they even escape?
Yeah, but there's not much that goes on before that.
Not in the books. Maybe he's learning about Horcruxes. Maybe he's writing to people.
Yeah.
Like Hepzibah Smith's grandchild, that he's keeping up correspondence, and that's how he finds out that there's a cup at Gringotts.
Or maybe he's accepting the wedding invitation and
maybe that's it. That could be it.
It's going to be something silly like that, I think. That is definitely at the beginning of the movie. It has to be. There's no way they didn't kill Hedwig. If they didn't kill Hedwig, that would be stupid.
All bets are off.
I would throw a Hedwig doll at David Yates at the premiere and be like, this guy was supposed to be dead. Or maybe this is some marketing plot for the theme park, because they sell Hedwigs there?
Well, some of the other stuff, which led to Eric saying earlier that there's stuff from the second part, was there's a shot of Harry and Ginny at Hogwarts. And there was also... they were doing a little bit of that, and Gringotts, which I would think would, as well as the shot of Hogwarts. So I guess that could probably be in either part. They could do a shot of that protection over Hogwarts, but I would think that the Gringotts scene would probably be in the second film.
Yeah,
but maybe I'm wrong.
There's a cool quick shot in the cafe. Overall, just I was really excited to see this, and I'm glad. And MuggleNet, when this premiered, the site crashed. Like, we got so much traffic, and while I was like, I was also like, that's awesome. Because so many people are going to MuggleNet after probably.
Can we replicate this? Can we?
Yeah, I hope not. We're going to try to fix it for the future, but very cool. Yeah, it got everyone very excited.
Yeah, just that, even though it's a few frames, that dragon just pulling himself out of, and I think he's in chains. You hear chains like getting crunched, and he's like breaking through pillars. That's awesome. Yeah. Except what was missing was the trio on its back. I guess I don't know.
Maybe they had to wait till he got outside. He's got to break through the wall first. He can't break through the wall with them on top.
Right. All that rubble will fall on them. Yeah.
But another thing that led me to realized that this was some stuff from the second film was Voldemort. He has a line in there where he says, "The boy who lived come to die."
What's Harry doing when he's saying that? Because Harry's backed up against the wall. It's like 29 seconds in, and it's just he's in this
that could be in the
moment of severe pain. It doesn't make any sense.
Godric's Hollow. That could be in. It doesn't have to be from the second part. It could be from the first part when they're in Godric's Hollow, and he just sort of deceives Harry into coming into the house and upstairs. That would be my guess.
Oh, because he collapses then, doesn't he? Right after Bathilda Snake comes out of Bathilda body. That was a weird moment.
So overall, great look, and this is. We heard about this big marketing campaign starting at the end of June, and it looks like this is sort of like the tip of the iceberg.
You left out the most important scene that people will be talking about was the fight.
Oh, between Harry and Ron.
Yeah, that's actually, I feel like that is going to be an amazing part of the movie.
Why do you say that? It looked good, but
Well, just compare it to Harry and Ron's fight in Goblet of Fire, the movie. Did you even remember that Harry and Ron fought in Goblet of Fire movie? Be honest.
I'm trying to think, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I remember he was that friend in Prisoner of Azkaban, but that's it.
No, there was that 15 minutes where Ron's not speaking to Harry, and then there's that "I'm not an owl" and yeah. You totally forget that happened, sure. But my prediction is that in Deathly Hallows, you're not going to forget that this happened. Sure, maybe it's because he's going to be missing for half the movie, but I think the acting is just completely picked up. You can tell from
the fight is a bit more physical here too.
Yeah,
as opposed to Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
And there's also a shot after that of what looks like Harry trying to destroy or maybe Ron, destroy the locket. It's like a really quick scene.
Yeah, I think it's Ron. And I think you're right. And it's cool because it goes straight from that to the dragon busting down a pillar or two.
And it's really been busy news-wise. We found out that Electronic Arts is going to release Deathly Hallows video game Part 1, so they are maximizing their revenue. There will be a Part 2.
Well, I feel like you can't release stuff.
We debated that.
I feel like
you
can't release you can't release a game that has Part 2 stuff if the movie hasn't been. I mean, a movie game doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, they could have waited until Part 2 was about to be released in theaters and then released the game, but they're deciding to do it, Part 1 and Part 2.
Well, I think maybe judging from MuggleNet staffer Nick's review, and Nick did go to Electronic Arts headquarters in Surrey, and he posted a pretty cool report, which is readable on MuggleNet. But judging from his report, they seem to kind of been a little wary about some of the criticism the games have received in the past. So I'm suggesting that maybe they split the game in two just in case they still don't get it right after Deathly Hallows Part 1, the game.
Well, I'm sure they're developing it fully right now. I mean, it doesn't really make sense for them to wait to develop the whole thing. I mean, they're going to get input from Warner Brothers and where this movie, splits and where it ends and all of that other stuff. So I just think that so far the reaction, as you mentioned, Eric, has been kind of negative. We got that first look at the picture before Nick gave his report online, and people didn't seem to be too happy with it. And I know Nick mentioned that the graphics do improve, that a lot of the photos that are coming out right now are kind of early stages of how things look, and he wanted people to know that so that they didn't, jump to conclusions, oh, these graphics are terrible. But that one picture that we did see early on was this battle between the trio and the Snatchers somewhere in the forest. And I think, I've been highly critical of the EA games, and I know some of the other people have too. But I think this may be a little bit different, being removed from Hogwarts and kind of having a little bit more of this free roaming ability, to be in a different setting completely.
Yeah, but wasn't that the appeal of Half-Blood Prince? You were in a free setting too, but you could walk around.
Well, you were limited to the Hogwarts grounds.
In this one, you can go anywhere.
You couldn't.
Well, this one just
again,
doesn't,
I don't
according
know that
to Nick's review, this one just doesn't take place at Hogwarts. Like, and he has some bullet points, like you can defend the burrow and stuff. Like, I have no idea what the setting or even the plot of the game will be. I just think looking at a picture, and maybe this is like a complete one, of what I said about the epilogue, but I just think looking at that Deathly Hallows picture, I don't know what people are complaining about for the video game. Like, quality-wise, there was nothing wrong with that picture of the trio and the Snatchers. Like, games now are in such high definition, 1080p. I don't think there was anything missing or wrong with the graphics. My God, I mean, maybe it's because my favorite video game ever is like Crash Bandicoot from 1997. But still, I don't have high expectations. I want the game to play well. It doesn't matter if my HD TV is going to get optimum resolution for the game. For me, if the game is good, it's going to be good.
It does to me. I need to see Harry, Hermione, and Ron in all their 1080p glory.
Well, here's some quick bullet points from Nick's review. Sorry, Nick, for bastardizing these by just taking them all and using what we liked. That's what we do. The wand, okay, Crucio as a spell will be available in the game, Andrew. So I don't know what you're talking about. We need more spells, but it will be weak, as Harry's intent is not evil. So what do you think the purpose of this Crucio spell is going to be in the game if it's weak? Like, what does that mean? You're going to be going around mildly hurting people?
Well, maybe just to get away. If you need to shoot a quick spell.
Yeah.
Put somebody under this curse.
Could that also be a way to keep the game rated like PG or something, or whatever the game E?
Well, I feel like there is some attention drawn to escaping the Snatchers, and a lot of the and Nick's report gives a list of some of the enemies. Interestingly, even though the game's not set at Hogwarts, there will be some returning creatures such as trolls and Whomping Willows, even.
Dragons as well.
Pixies again. I don't know if they'll find pixies in the wild, but that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, see, I like this side to the game because they're trying to bring back parts of the series that maybe people would be familiar with. So I do like this attempt by EA to kind of be all-encompassing. But again, it's going to come down to the gameplay and, how true does it stay to the movies? And I guess that will also, be how true do the movies stay to the books, for the enjoyment factor. And I think, and I don't remember the number, but there was close to, was it like 25 hours of gameplay or something like that? I forget it. Nick mentioned it in his report, but that's a lot compared to, where this Half-Blood Prince and Order of the Phoenix games were at. I mean, you could probably get through it in a couple of hours without, too
very
much
true.
effort.
And I think that a large bit of the focus of the at least 5. I know of movie game 5 was free roaming Hogwarts, and they put a lot of effort into it. But I think that kind of detracted from the story gameplay because they spent so much time building this Hogwarts that when the final product came around was empty Hogwarts. I mean, you could do Exploding Snap.
Yeah, it is empty. That's a great word. I agree with that. I think that's probably the best way to describe what it was. It was empty. There was nothing going on. Yeah, you could pass students and maybe you could hit them with a spell, but I mean, there wasn't enough happening. There wasn't enough side tasks or side stories, if you were roaming around the castle to get involved with. And I think that's really where they missed the boat.
So saying, removing that from the equation, you think, well, now they don't need to worry about, free roaming Hogwarts anymore.
Until part 2.
Yeah, until part 2. Well, I really want to see Grand Theft Dragon. I think they should release a separate video game, Electronic Arts Grand Theft Dragon, focusing just on the Gringotts escape sequence. Beat up a goblin, steal his minecart.
So if you want to read all about this video game, Nick did write up a great report. You can check it out on the site. I'm sure we'll post a link in our MuggleCast show notes. But to wrap up video game news, Lego Harry Potter released what I think will probably be their final vignette unless they do a compilation of all of the different years for their video game. This one was year 4, Goblet of Fire. Just quickly what your guys' thoughts were. It looks pretty good. They seem to be staying pretty true to the books, actually.
Yeah. It's really nice to see all these scenes come to life in Lego form. It's just really clever how it all looks, and each one of these vignettes gets more and more exciting because you're seeing all these things in the film now in video game form, in a clever, cartoonish Lego sort of way. It's really fun to watch. So what else is going on?
Well, Andrew, as you mentioned at the top of the show, this is our 200th episode.
Really?
Yeah, so I thought a good way to wrap up the news, or actually you thought a good way to wrap up the news, would be talking about, 200 episodes. It is a milestone for us. Of course we want to thank the listeners. We wouldn't be here 200 episodes later without all of the great people that listen to our show and that we've met along the way at all of the different places that we've been to.
It's funny you should say that, Micah, because a lot of us aren't here anymore. There's only 3 of us. It's like MuggleCast Survivor here. Who has made it? Who has made
Andrew
it through 200 episodes?
Well, you know what? We should say that Jamie wanted to be on the show today, but he's in the middle of moving, and so he couldn't make it. He didn't have internet, but he did send us some Make the Connection ideas, which we're going to read through in a little bit.
But yeah, we wouldn't be here. Even the 3 of us wouldn't be here if it weren't for the fans.
Absolutely. I mean, it's we say it all the time, but it's absolutely true. And so we're very appreciative of everyone who's been listening, whether it's been 5 years or whether you just started listening the other day.
Yeah, and that's we talk about this a lot, I think, the last couple of episodes, but we really do have a lot of new listeners that are just sort of coming on board. And I know we get a lot of emails about downloading old shows and to kind of get a feel for what things were like up to this point. But I like your idea, Eric. Maybe we should go and hire Jeff Probst to come in and read the final votes for the three of us and see who wins to be on the final show. But I mean, based off what Andrew's saying, it's kind of like with moving on from the PS2 to the PS3. I mean, people have, there's other commitments that come up, and there are things that, people have to do. That's just the way that it works. And I think it's not that they don't want to be on the show. I mean, I think we always get people who are asking us, where's Ben, where's Jamie? And Laura's off in some foreign country somewhere. Who knows when she's coming back.
They'll all be back. We can promise you that.
They will.
But yeah, I mean, I think what sticks out for me too, for the most, throughout the past 200 episodes is the emails that we get from the people, and not just people from all different walks of life, and people we'd meet at the live events, like college professors and all sorts of people from all different walks of life, and their support. And whether you're a new listener or an old listener, if you can take something from the show or even send in an email of your thoughts and help us add to it, like it's been a collective organic process, and it does work around people's time schedules, and it was a lot easier to get everybody on when we were all in high school and
when we weren't oversleeping and missing the recording.
Well, that's just your problem. I don't think I ever had that problem, Andrew.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't had many oversleeping cases. We've had a lot of audio files that have disappeared. What are some other big flops we've had?
Ben was trying to get wireless in a car in Kansas somewhere.
There's been times where we were getting ready to record for so long, we were just like, oh, screw it, let's do it tomorrow.
There was one episode that was completely lost. I remember that.
Well, I think as far as audio's getting lost, that's happened, I think, twice for me.
You win the title for that. So if we're doing Survivor and you're like the fan favorite for that, you would get the $100,000 for losing the most audio.
I did. I remember completely re-recording I had it didn't record correctly. I think the RAM on my computer was low, and so the entire episode, Andrew, do you remember this, where my audio clip for the entire episode was the beginning and end of my sentences or words in response?
Yeah, I think
but what I did is I used the echo that I heard in that audio file from what everybody else was saying to completely re-record everything I had said, and of course it was still fresh on my mind, to rebuild the episode. But then there was one that I think we just lost the audio file and we had to re-record because that was episode 13, but we talk about that far too often on the show.
So, I mean, a lot of great memories of recording this podcast over the years, and it's just been so much fun. And,
I think we should take a moment also to thank the transcribers, all of them that have been a part of the show for 200 episodes. I mean, they've obviously changed. Somebody named Matt Britton started as a transcriber, and
someone named Micah Tannenbaum started as a transcriber too.
That's true. Way back in episode 1. So it's interesting to see how things change, and obviously everybody over there does a tremendous job. I think we're pretty much caught up. We're at episode 196 now, so just being at 200, there's not too much of a gap, and we try and get things out on time, and they really do a great job. And it's kind of one of those thankless jobs. People take it for granted. Sometimes that the transcript is just there, but it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I mean, if you started out, I mean, if you've been a MuggleCast transcriber at any point in the history of MuggleCast, we thank you. And not only that, but we understand if you're no longer with us. We get it. And in fact, I'm going to go further and say, I'm sure the transcribers transcribing this episode, tasked with that, would just appreciate really if we didn't. If we quit thanking them because they're transcribing every word. But that said, I'm gonna sum this up in quite a few more words here. Transcribers, thank you.
Oh, that was good.
That was about to get serious for a moment.
But no, I mean, I know people who have used that experience on resumes and in job applications, for what they did on the site, and it's helped them out a lot. So
very cool.
it's valuable experience. I guess.
have my original microphone sitting right here that I recorded the first episode with.
Wow.
It's a little Logitech desktop microphone, so it's not a headset. You just...
Aren't the rest of us still all using those?
Yeah, I am too. I'm talking on my headset right
I
now.
have no... Andrew sent me a new headset about a year ago or two, and I've been using that one. But I have the original somewhere. I think it's at home. I think it's probably next to my can of Tootsie Rolls.
I think for old time's sake, when I record the intro for this episode, I'll record it with this microphone.
So, Andrew, a lot of people want to know, where is the show going to go from here? I mean, we're 200 episodes in. We have a theme park opening pretty soon. We have a movie coming out in the fall, another movie next summer. What's our plan moving forward?
I'm done. I don't know about you guys. I've always agreed that 200 episodes. No, we will.
That's your contract.
I think it's fair to say we will do this through part 2, and we'll work from there. Now, I'm not saying we're going to end the show. I don't think MuggleCast will ever end. And yeah, so I think through the next year, absolutely, we'll continue doing shows every other week. And then we'll work from there and see what we can do. I mean, by that time, Joe may have the encyclopedia announced, and that could reveal a lot of new information. So,
don't bet on it.
Don't bet on it. I mean, there always has to be some podcast to follow Joe's Twitter, I think. So, I mean, maybe we'll just turn MuggleCast into Muggle Minicast, and whenever she issues a tweet, we'll just read it on the show and call it a day.
I think that's fraught because
it'll
tweets
always
have to
be pen and paper is my priority.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone so much for staying with us, and we hope you enjoy the show. We hope you continue to enjoy the show. I mean, we still love recording it. I think I love recording it more than ever. It's just a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, I think the spacing out, though, not to sound like, but, when we decided to move it to being, almost bi-monthly, I think that it allows us to keep it fresh, and we are a lot more energetic, I think, coming into each episode.
And I'll find myself in the,
a lot more. Yeah, and there's more news to talk about.
I'll find myself in the off week, like you just said, I'll find myself in the off week wanting to record, and I'll be like, oh, I have another week to wait, but at the same time, I'm excited, and then I have something to look forward to. I make mental notes, and I'm more prepared to, because I've been culling it over for 2 weeks now, when to record. So that's a benefit.
Yeah. So, thanks everyone so much. And, I guess now that's a great way to intro our interview with David Heyman. Like I said at the beginning, he's the producer of all the Harry Potter films. He's been there since the beginning. I mean, he got this whole thing started, essentially. He's a great guy. You guys are going to love this interview. So let's roll it.
All right. Well, we are now joined by the producer of what will be all 8 Harry Potter films, Mr. David Heyman. David, thank you so much for joining us today. It's our 200th episode of MuggleCast, so it's really great that you can be with us.
Well, thank you for having me, and I feel very honored to be on the 200th episode. That's amazing. When was the first one?
2005.
August 2005.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. So to help the listeners get an idea, can you tell us how you first got involved with Harry Potter?
Yeah, sure. I was a very fortunate person I was in the right place at the right time. I read an unpublished manuscript, and in 1997, the beginning of 1997, and fell in love with it. And there began my journey, I suppose. I had no idea that it would become the phenomenon that it's become. It was just something that I read and loved. It made me laugh. It moved me. I'd been to a school a bit like Hogwarts, but without the magic. I had friends who were important to me. I had friends who I fell out with. There were teachers who I liked and teachers who I didn't like. And it felt just, entirely relatable. And yet at the same time, there was this sort of wish fulfillment aspect to it. I loved it. It reminded me of those books that I'd read as a child, and yet a completely fresh, new voice. And I fell in love, and so I sent it to Warner Brothers, with whom I had a relationship. They were paying for my office in exchange for a first-look deal, and I sent it to them, and they didn't have a clue what they were about to get their hands on. But I sent it to someone they called Lionel Wigram. Lionel was someone who I'd been to, who I'd grown up with. I'd known him since I was around 13 years old. The first girl I ever really made out with was at a party thrown by Lionel. That's probably more detail than you need. But anyway, that was a long time ago. And I sent it to Lionel, and he read it, and he liked it. And, there began the process. And I think that Warner's they really didn't have a clue. I'm not sure they even read it, besides Lionel at the beginning. But they had this deal with me, and this was the first substantial thing that I'd submitted, and I think they were, they wanted to show faith, and it's worked brilliantly for everyone concerned.
I would say
clearly I was in the right place at the right time, because if I'd just moved back to London, if I'd moved back 6 months later, somebody else might have gotten it. Though actually there were people who did read it and passed on it. It wasn't like it was, everybody was convinced that this was going to be this was a film, but certainly before it had been published.
Wow.
Right.
Well, going into the production of making the books into the movies, were the studios prepared for the attention that the movies were going to receive? I mean, having had so much time to now see this fan base and how passionate it is.
I think when we, it took the negotiation was quite long to acquire the rights, and we eventually, Warner Brothers secured the rights sometime just before the book was published. The first book was published in the United States. One's got to understand that, and it's hard to think of this now, but Harry Potter was in large part a word-of-mouth phenomenon. It wasn't one that huge marketing dollars led. Sort of created the goodwill that the books earned. But it was people, it was kids talking to kids, parents talking to parents, and the fan base built. So when we optioned the book, when we hired Steve Clovis to adapt the first book, it was still not a phenomenon. However, by the time that it reached number 1, number 2, and number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list, I think they realized that there was something that was, that there were huge possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Though again, I remember on that opening weekend of the first film, when it came out in the cinemas, I think everybody was in a bit of shock at quite the fervor, the passion, and the amount of people that were coming to see these films.
Right.
Warner's had already by that point committed to making a second.
Yeah.
So when we were making the first, we knew we were going to make the second. When we were making the second, we knew we were going to make a third. So we were always one ahead, as it were. So I think they had a sense that there would be an audience, but I think that the extent of that audience and the passion of that audience, I don't think they were quite prepared for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And we've seen, how the fan sites have grown. MuggleNet started back in 1999 with a few other select sites. And just, as the fandom itself has grown and has sought resources, on the internet and otherwise, it's, we've seen how it's grown so much throughout the years. And obviously, I mean, it's cool to hear you talk about that and how the studios and all that reacted to it. Now, has the relationship, or how has the relationship between the studios and the fans adapted? Like, how has it, would you say, changed throughout the years?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, I can tell about how we approach the films.
Mm-hmm.
Is how I'm a fan. I love Joe's books, and I think people working on the films feel the same way. Our desire is to make the very best version of these films we can. And clearly there are many different versions of a Harry Potter book that you could do, that you could make, and we have to make choices about what we choose to emphasize and what we don't emphasize. And there was a big moment when we were starting the third film, when Alfonso Cuarón came aboard, where we really, in order to give the film some form of cinematic structure, we decided to tell the story from Harry's point of view, and many of the things didn't relate to Harry's journey itself fell by the wayside. Some things that I love, actually, and miss in the films. So in terms of filmmakers to audience, to the fans, there is great respect for the fans. There's great respect for Joe's work. And we do show the script to Joe. And Steve Clovis clearly has a keen understanding of Joe's voice. I think when she first met Steve, I think that was the thing that first meeting was one of the most scary things for her, because this was the person who was a fellow writer. And he was being entrusted in a way with the adaptation. And I think she was greatly relieved. I remember that meeting so well. Driving her to the studio, we're having lunch with Steve, and then driving her afterwards back to her hotel, and how relieved she was by having met him. But we have to. So we're all incredibly respectful and passionate about the material. That being said, we have to make choices. We have to make choices that will please some and not necessarily please all, because what you become acutely aware of as a producer when you receive the number of letters that I do, that we do, each with it, everybody loves and misses something different. Everybody has their own interpretation, so it's going to be impossible for us to please everybody, and so we have to make we ourselves as fans have to make certain choices. Vis-a-vis the studio, that they, I think, have come to, I think they've always respected the fans and actually, I think, respected the work first, and then the fans. And clearly, with that, things have been difficult with regard to fan sites and fans. And I know it hasn't always been a smooth relationship, but I do believe Warner Brothers, and I'm not Warner Brothers, I'm an independent producer who's making these films for Warner Brothers, but I do think that they have, which is a very important distinction, I really do believe that they have Joe's, that they really do care about Joe's materials. Most certainly in the way they've supported myself as a producer, and not just the resources, but the independence they've given us in allowing us to make the decisions as opposed to being mired in, so many different voices, which can happen on many studio films.
Yeah,
they've been very respectful.
Yeah, I know one of the things you just brought up, difficult decisions, the Marauder storyline, and I think the House Elves are kind of the two things that stick out amongst fans. Obviously, very difficult.
I think there are a whole host more. Dumbledore's funeral, the memories. I mean, boy, oh boy, there are. I'm sure if there was a voodoo doll with me, there'd be quite a few pins in there for missed things. But again, if we followed the House Elf story, it would. These films are as they are. 2 hours and 30 odd minutes. It just become, and some people think they're too long. Some people may not think they're long enough, but some people do think they're too long. And I think it's just to give a clear story, a defined narrative, means that you have to make some choices.
Right. Well, with effect to the book. No, we understand.
I'm sorry, really, I am, because I'd love to have had all those.
I thought the Dumbledore death scene at the end of Half-Blood Prince was I thought it was just fine. I didn't miss and clearly that would have been a lot more people to cast, and it would have kind of been a mess of a huge amount of actors at the funeral scene.
Well, I mean, just so you know, the reason behind it wasn't actually purely an economic one, though. That. In spite of the vast sums that Warner's give us, any film you make, you always want more. Though some of the best decisions are made through having to work within budgets, I feel. But Dumbledore's funeral is an interesting one, because it was in the book. It was one of my favorite scenes. I shed a tear, when I read the book. I found it incredibly moving. But in terms of in a film, how many scenes of grieving we could have.
Yeah.
It felt that it would be not redundant, clearly not redundant, but that at that stage in the film, we would be we would be. I think our concern was that we would be in a place of melancholy for too long, or a place of grieving, and there would be a repeated emotional or similar beat that we were repeating on more than one occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Talking about taking the Potter books and making them into movies, do you think this has helped other books be greenlit, into for other films as well? This has kind of, laid the groundwork.
Well, when I moved back to London in 1996, I decided that books was going to be the foundation of my of my business, of how I produced. I love to read. I'm a voracious reader, and books traditionally have had the greatest success in terms of going from development to films, more so than pictures or other such things. They have had great success. So that was I love to read, and I thought that there were many reasons why, but traditionally they have been quite successful in terms of being made. I do think that what Potter, and I think there's been interest in family entertainment, but I think that, the success may have paved the way for, revisiting certain books, whether it be Narnia or Lord of the Rings is already in the works, but I think it gave it, fresh blood, fresh life.
Right.
Possibly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I can't honestly say. Clearly, there's a lot more. The success of Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Narnia has meant there are a lot more I would say, family books that find their way to screen, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or Percy Jackson, or I think people are looking in that direction maybe a little more than they have. But you look back through time, Snow White, and Disney's been adapting Jungle Book, been adapting children's books for a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's an exclusively contemporary thing.
Yeah. No, I definitely see what you're saying, and being a voracious reader, that's absolutely excellent. Now, while you were on the subject, I did want to bring up, we looked and we see that you're currently attached to 2 upcoming book adaptations. The first is Paddington Bear by W.B., and the second is Curious Incident of the Dog in Nighttime. Can you comment on either of those? Because I'm really excited, particularly for the Dog in Nighttime, to see that to fruition. Are both projects still in the works?
Yes, Curious Incident of the Dog of the Nighttime is another book that I optioned before it was published. I just read it and felt that Mark Haddon had a really distinctive voice, and that this was a very moving and powerful story. Steve Klovis has been a little busy of recent working on the Harry Potter film. We attached him as writer and director way back when. He's directed a couple of films, but I like both his films, but his first film was a film called Fabulous Baker Boys. And he is really capable of capturing the voice of an author, as he's done with Potter. And I was really excited when he said yes to having not directed for so long, since Flesh and Bone, that he would do this. But I've been waiting for quite a while, but that's because he's been busy. He assures me that sometime in the next 6 to 12 months, I will see a script, and that'll be really exciting. So yes, it's very much in the works. Clearly not a film on the scale of Potter, a more modestly sized film, but one that I think could be great. And then Paddington, I love Paddington, it's part of my childhood. And we've got a wonderfully talented young director called Paul King, who's done the adaptation, and will hopefully, is attached to direct. And he's just doing the final flourishes to the script, and then we'll turn it into the studio. The difficulty, the times that we're in right now means that, what the studios are really interested in is major brands. And I think, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Batman, comic books, and then books like Harry Potter. Of course, there are other things, but it's harder. And Paddington is well known in Britain and in other territories, Japan and Australia, and but it's not a big bestseller in America. So I've got to navigate that minefield before bringing it to the screen. But they seem positive, and Winnie the Pooh was just announced. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. another bear, another British bear. But I'm really hopeful, and we're going to do everything I can to see it made. I think Paul will do a brilliant job with it.
I think I may ask you for the lottery numbers for tonight between Potter and all these other films that you've been able to land.
I'm a very lucky man.
Yeah, well, you've done a tremendous job. And we really appreciate it as fans, though. We can't tell you enough.
Thank you. Well, somebody said something. One of the nicest compliments I had. This weekend I was visiting some friends, and my friend's son said to me, that one of the things that they love the films, and he said, they're so much better than they need to be, and I took that as a real compliment in the sense that I do think that each time we're trying to make the latest film better than the one before. Mm-hmm. We're really ambitious for the films. Stuart Craig and David Yates now, and everybody everybody working on it is hungry, is determined to make this Potter the best one yet, and that's nobody is complacent. Nobody is just resting on their laurels, and I'm sure we make mistakes, and I'm sure that there's certain things we could have done better, but we most certainly, we don't settle, and the studio's been supportive in that. I have to say, they encourage us to reach and give us the independence to do so, and the fan, we have I feel we have a great responsibility to the fan base. I mean, your fans and the people, all the ever-growing websites and the people who send letters, and there is a real responsibility there, I think.
Mm-hmm. We have a few more questions for you, and it's
fire away.
Oh, it's a bit of a lighter segment here where we call it favorites. We'd like to know first and foremost your favorite book.
Wow, I think God, that's really hard. The first one, it's funny because these have been so much a part of my life. Each one marks off a certain time in my life. And the first one, that first love, as it were, when I first read Philosophers or Sorceresses Known America's Stone, was really just, I was caught up in this world. I love the third book. And the scale of the fourth, I love all the memories from the sixth, even though very few of them have found their way into the film. And I love the way Harry is so wound up and tight in the fifth, and the discoveries he makes. And of the seventh, I think that Jo outdid herself with her final offering. I think it's just the most fantastic book.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite villain?
Voldemort.
Voldemort, really?
Yeah, I have to say I love Snape, but he's not really a villain, is he?
No. No, I was thinking of Umbridge because she's obviously quite...
Well, I tell you, what I love about Umbridge is I think she's delicious.
Yeah.
I love her, I think that she's... I think Voldemort, in some ways, was one of the most challenging decisions we had to make, and choices, and the creation of that character, because he is... we've been building to him for 4 films, and he's got to carry us through the next, as it turns out, 4. And he is the embodiment of evil. And there have been many attempts at it, and to try and make Voldemort distinctive and I was really proud of the way that Rafe and Mike helped, conceive it, and sort of helped adapt Jo's villain. I love Umbridge in 5. I think she is. What I like about her is her smile and her pink and her little giggle. I think Imelda Staunton really is wonderfully irritating.
Yeah, I remember one of our other hosts used to say all the time that when he was reading the books, he used to literally start hitting things when Umbridge would be brought up, and he felt that Imelda Staunton did exactly that in movie 5. It just makes you want to, jump into the screen and attack her.
Well, I love the scene in 5 where one of the things I like about Umbridge is her quietness and how much she's about control. And yet she is so abusive. That scene with the quill, where the quill is writing on Harry's hand in the films, is one of the most chilling scenes that we've had.
Yes.
Most disturbing and uncomfortable. And yet it's a scene that's very with those cats, those sweet purring cats.
Yes.
All all the outer veneer of softness masks this
truly horrible thing.
Horrible, and I found that scene to really make me feel very, very uncomfortable, very hard to watch, and the slowness of it. The scene was it's allowing it to breathe, and that handwriting not being too quick, and you feel it just digging into him. Oh, I love the way that Harry looks at her towards the end of that scene. The resolve. No, that's one of my favorites. But I also like the fact, because I think it's not always easy, is I think she's very funny. I think you take great pleasure in her wickedness. So yes, I think it's a very good character to bring up.
Oh, but so is Voldemort.
No, I love me. Listen, Voldemort's sort of more obvious.
Yeah.
But I think more obvious just because, but it is, as I said before, if you think about it, it's easy now that he's there.
Yeah.
But when we were trying to conceive him, who are we going to cast? How are we going to dress him? There was, believe it or not, a big debate about the nose, because Rafe was unsure about losing his nose, and that dialogue, but how all those pieces, and the decisions not to make him have slit eyes.
Yes.
Now, the reason for that was that the eyes are the window, are so important, and if you gave him slit eyes, it would. I know that Voldemort is inhuman, but we felt that the lack of humanity was really important to get across, and that was better done with seeing eyes, we felt, and making him slightly less of a creature. But all those decisions that because there are so many decisions one makes with many that the fans or the audience don't realize, but everything is an accumulation of hundreds or thousands of decisions. I really feel the decisions we made with the Rafe, for the most part, were really successful.
Yeah. Well, going, I guess, a little bit more lighthearted away from the villains, what do you think your animagus or patronus would be, for you specifically?
A lion.
Excellent. No, I think that's good. I think that's good.
We haven't seen one of those, have we?
No.
Now the Potter films.
Take about what you will.
Hey, that's fine. The films have filmed on location in gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous areas. They do tours now to Scotland and England, looking for some of these places. Do you have a favorite place from your travels? When working on these films. Well,
yeah. I mean, I love going up to Scotland. Filming in the Highlands as we did on 3, even in the terrible weather. We were meant to film there for 5 days, and we ended up there for, I can't remember, 13, 14, 15 days because it was raining. And I remember Alfonso was just smiling away because the overcast, it all contributed to the aesthetic, which he wanted. But boy, it was very hard. But yeah, filming up there, I think that's one of the most beautiful locations I've been on. Since that time, we've been doing more and more filming here at Leavesden, because I think Warner Brothers was two things. One, Warner Brothers didn't like the lack of control that the elements brings you. Mm-hmm. And two, the nature of visual effects has improved such that we can, with green screen, we're able to make an environment extend far more than and create environments that don't exist where we're actually filming them. So a lot of our work is plate work.
Mm. Is there a musical piece or one of the film's scores that stands out to you that you're particularly proud of, or that you thought was the best?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I remember first listening to Hedwig's theme when John Williams sent it, and really loving that. I love his score for the third film. I think that it's wonderful. It's very minimal compared to his scores are quite full and baroque in parts, but I really responded to the more spare score, the ticking clock, when you're going back in time, playing over, I thought was beautiful. In the fourth, I love Patrick Doyle's melody, and I think some of the pieces that Nick Hooper did in 5 and 6 were very, very moving. Pat Doyle at the end of 4, when we see the Beauxbatons leaving, and in 5, I think some of I love the piece in 6 when Harry is getting Slughorn to reveal, to hand over his memory to Hagrid's heart. I thought was a very difficult piece of music and very moving. So those are some of the pieces that I like.
So I'm sure one of the benefits of producing a film is seeing the props and the sets that are, that have been constructed. If you could take a prop away from the films with the sets, and I'm not suggesting that you have, if you could, which prop would it be that you would sort of take home, as a keepsake?
It's funny. I have taken a few props from those two films.
We'll edit that out. We can edit that out.
No. I got a Quidditch box. The box with the
balls in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got one of those. And I've got Harry's wand. And I've been too busy actually to cull the others. But I'm about to sit down the week after next with the head of props and take a few more things. Yes, that would. I don't know. I really like. There's so many things that I think Harry's wand. I think is a very special thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
The snitch. I like the. I like the, and it's not in a book, but I love the Jamaican
the heads.
Heads. I think that really, every time I see the film, makes me smile. I would love to be able to take the where all the memories are held, that box, but I'm not sure that they'll allow me out of the studio with that one, or I'll be able to leave with it sufficiently discreetly. From 6, I think that's really beautiful. I like the. I like the Deathly Hallows emblazoned on the locket, on Umbridge's locket. There are a lot of them. I think what the departments here, what Stuart Craig and his team and the props and all the manufacturing, it's really incredible what they do. The detail, in the films, I almost wish I could invite, and I can't. So. But invite everybody to have a look at the level of detail that goes in these films and things that you don't really see. For example, in the notice board in the Gryffindor common room, which is probably my favorite set, just because it's so comfortable and cozy. I like many sets, but I think that's just got a special place for me. There's a notice board, and we really don't focus on that notice board, but on that notice board are class schedules, meeting groups, warnings, notices, all of which have been hand-drawn. And they just contribute to making the environment seem that much more real, so that when their actors are playing in it, they have to think a little less. They have to, use their imagination a little less. It feels like what it is.
Yeah. Fortunately, I have been able to visit the traveling exhibition, which has props from the films, just as a hint.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Just the detail, and particularly the Bloody Baron's costume from Philosopher's Stone. He just does a flyby. He's transparent, but the detail on that outfit is just amazing to see. And it's good to have an exhibition where you can see it in a glass case a few feet from your face to see it with that detail, because that is the environment in which a lot of these pieces deserve to be seen. So
the level of work that's done by the people here is just, again, there's much more detail than there needs to be, and Warner's Brothers have been generous enough to allow us to do that. But I think it also contributes to the, to making the films feel as majestic and rich as they are. I tell you, one of my favorite costumes, which I'm not sure you've seen yet, because I don't think there's been any publicity stills, is Fleur Delacour's wedding dress.
Oh, I have not seen it.
I mean, she's lovely, but the dress is as lovely as she is.
So I recently went to the theme park, which has not.
Oh, you did? When did you go? Were you there last week? When?
No, I was there. At the end of April, I think. No, the end of March. I'm sorry. So it was a couple months ago. But we heard that you were possibly there as well during that time.
I was there. I've been there a couple of times. Universal has been very inclusive. One, they wanted to get the film look, and two, especially with the main ride, they wanted to get, because we work a lot with visual effects here, they wanted. I'm a bit of actually, they wanted it, and I probably gave them more notes than they wanted because I'm a bit of a pain in the derriere about this. I have I can't let it go. Even if it's a theme park, I can't let it go. I think it's incredible what they've done.
Yeah, they took us through Hogwarts, and it looks great.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
And I don't know if you've seen it with the, when you can see Ron and Hermione there, and they project them, but it looks like they're really there.
It's unbelievable, the new technology they developed there.
Oh.
They also they talked to us. I did want to ask you about the 3 broomsticks, because they talked to us about that being in sort of conjunction with the 3 broomsticks that was going to be used in the film for Deathly Hallows, because the set had not been created before, I guess, or they were.
Well, the set had been drawn but not completed, and I think that there was a good dialogue, interesting dialogue between Stuart and absolutely there was a conversation that was had. I mean, it wasn't like we designed our set around the theme park.
Right.
They designed theirs around ours, but yes, there was a dialogue between the two. They were going on simultaneously.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, mind you, the Hog's Head is a bit. It's an amazing place at the theme park. It's much bigger than our set because there'll be more people in it than there were making the film. But it's fantastic. I think people really enjoy going there for refreshments.
Well,
and butterbeer.
Yeah,
they've got butterbeer, which is amazing. I have to confess, it's a little sweeter than my palate can stomach. But everybody loved it. Joe loved it. I mean, from what I hear, Joe really loved it. Everybody really dug it. But maybe it's just that I don't eat so much sugar. They've been really interesting. They've made an effort to, there's not Coke, there's no branded, I don't think there are branded soft drinks. They've been really trying to be conscious of health and all of that within it. But that was something that I think Joe stipulated. But the butterbeer is incredible. The white froth on top is it's amazing. It is kind of mad that you work on these films and you make your own butter, and the next thing you know is, and Joe wrote these books, and here we are having butterbeer in the theme park.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess I wanted to ask you a little bit about Deathly Hallows, whatever you are allowed to, or whatever you feel free to talk about. But I know you guys have about a month of filming left.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, at this point, have you guys decided where the film is going to be split? Or is that still
Yes, we have. I mean, we actually, it's funny, the script was written with an end in mind. And the first draft was written with one ending. And then as we developed it, it went to another ending. And then we reverted in part to the original ending. Because we felt that it allowed us a more emotional conclusion, and felt like it was more complete, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But we've added this other scene, which I think is really amazing, and I can't tell you where it is. I'm sorry, but I do feel that it'll be incredibly dramatic, very moving, and will make people want to watch the next film.
Just can you confirm that it won't be in the middle of Ron and Hermione's kiss, that they'll go in for it and then the film will end? And then
I can confirm 100% that that's not the case. It's funny, isn't it? How the gossip mill just takes something, and I don't know if I haven't heard that.
No, that was just me. I just created that. That's.
If I had not answered that question, it would have been on the gossip note.
I'm terribly sorry to put you in that position.
No. I'm very happy to answer that one. No, it's not to be in the middle of it. That would leave, if it was their kiss, there'd be very little left.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry. I forgot where that was chronologically. I thought that was when Ron returned. But that's... Yeah, sorry.
Anyway.
My bad.
So with that type of decision, obviously you play a huge part in that. Is that you and the David Yates and other people that are involved in deciding the split?
Yeah, I mean, it's Steve Clovis and David Yates and myself and David Barron's around too, and so it's really it's that's sort of the group. Mm-hmm. Steve writes, we look at it and discuss it. Sometimes it's easy when you've got it's presented to you in a script. Though, funny enough, when you see a cut, I've already seen part 1 3 times, in the most rough form because we haven't finished shooting. And things become clear to you. Things become clear when you read it in the script. Things become clearer when you see them in a cut version of the film. So it became clear when we looked at the first cut that the ending wasn't quite as what we wanted, or we felt it could be better, and I think we've ended up with it in a much, 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 much better place.
Nice. Now, what do you think is the standout scene, without too much specifics? What was the scene that you had the most fun filming in this final bit?
Well, I can give you a couple of good scenes. We had a lot of fun filming the Seven Harry scene where they drink the polyjuice potion and turn into all become Harry. Just have Dan having to perform like all the others was very fun. But I think very challenging for him, but really great. And I think the final battle is going to be fantastic. But I also there's one of my favorite scenes is the scene where Ron leaves, because I think it's really moving. And for all the spectacle, obviously the Battle of Hogwarts is going to be spectacular and all of that, but what I love the most in the Potter films are the characters. For all the spectacle and for all the action and magic, I really love Harry, Ron, Hermione, Neville, Luna, all just the relationships between the various characters. And so that scene when they leave, when Ron leaves, and also when we have a little moment which I can't elaborate on except to say that Hermione and Harry are alone, missing him, are some of my favorite scenes that we've shot in 10 years.
Excellent. Okay, well, just two short bits here. We do have a segment on our podcast called the Dueling Club, which is where we basically choose a character in our heads, and then we state the characters, and we face them off against each other, arguing in favor of the character we chose, who would win in a duel. Would you think that's something you'd be interested in playing?
My goodness, I'm going to be. Who will I be playing?
You'll be playing against Micah, and you can choose whatever character from the Harry Potter books that you could possibly think of.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have your character?
Yes.
Okay, Micah, do you have your character?
Yes.
Okay. Which one
Mike,
of you would like
to
go
first, just to give me a hand? What I meant to do.
I guess I'll go with Bellatrix.
Ah, excellent. I'll go with Snape.
Wow.
Ooh, this is good. All right, gentlemen. Since Micah, you presented first, what is your argument in favor of Bellatrix beating Snape?
Wow. I don't know. I think.
Do you want to accept defeat now?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know that's even a fair fight. I mean, I know she's a very powerful Death Eater and kind of Voldemort's right-hand woman, but I don't know that she would stand up very well in a duel against Snape. I think he's too powerful. I think Snape is really under. I think the power of Snape. I mean, just because I think we both agree that Snape would win.
Yes,
absolutely.
But I think, and I didn't think of that just because you chose Bellatrix. I was thinking about Snape because I think Snape is very underrated. One, he has the ability to deceive brilliantly because he deceived the Dark Lord for an extended period of time. He also has been wanting to be, Professor of the Dark Arts forever, so you know that he is well versed in all the dark arts and defense of as well, or defense against, and also, he's not too bad at potions either. So he's a quite well-rounded wizard.
Yes,
in many ways.
Yeah.
I think he does have Achilles' heels, and maybe if Bellatrix knew about Lily, there may be a vulnerability there in some form or other. Though that actually in many ways was his greatest strength, the fact that he was able to love, which of course is the thing that Voldemort is not able to. Bellatrix is, because I suspect she's in love with Voldemort.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a head case, though. I think Snape could probably... he keeps his mind about him no matter what, so I think that gives him the upper hand right off the bat, probably.
You feel he's very much... You're right. I mean, he's very much in control, and she isn't.
Yes. So Micah, you lose.
Sorry, Mike.
No, thank you for playing too. And I guess finally, that's all of our questions really. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all your support. It's fun. This is a really nice forum.
Hey, good luck wrapping everything up.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. There you have it. Great job, guys. Great job.
Well, thank you.
What stood out for you guys with that interview with David?
Eric, you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I'll answer for you, and you answer for me.
Okay.
For Micah, it was Bellatrix getting her butt kicked. I think the Dueling Club. I think afterwards, immediately after that happened, I think Micah began tweeting and all these references of I have a new favorite segment and all that stuff. I think it was a great moment of. I mean, I just can't believe when David Heyman said, you just want to admit defeat now. Like that's the producer of the Harry Potter films getting way too excited. I mean, not too excited by any means, but very excited that he's just played this game on MuggleCast with the MuggleCast host and totally whooped our butts. So yeah, that's Micah's favorite.
I think, just to see that kind of level of excitement and enthusiasm in something that, he didn't even have to do if, he thought was, cheesy or whatever you want to call it, and to see that kind of level of intensity, I guess, and like what Eric said, I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty funny actually too, and I just like the way that he was talking about different things, just how passionate he was throughout the course of the interview, especially when he was talking about the relationship that WB has and even himself have developed with the fans, and how much time and effort goes into the decisions that they make about the films. I mean, and overall just how gracious he was with his time to be able to sit down and to talk with us, and seem genuine about everything.
Yeah, right before the interview too, we asked, his agent had called, and we were sitting down. It was I think it was Monday morning, and we were very nervous sitting down, and I think I asked right before he came on, how much time do we have? He's like 20-30 minutes or whatever, and 20 or 30 minutes is fine. We had, as you guys just heard, we had him for 45 minutes, or roughly 40 minutes of usable footage. So I mean, he answered all the questions we had. I mean, that's why at the end I was
and he probably would have spoke for longer too.
Yeah, which is very true.
So great job, guys. Again, I gotta say my favorite moment was him this is very broad, but just my favorite moment
having
was
him
the
on
whole
the show,
interview. That was basically what I was going to say. No, it's just
and a lot of the interview is good. Like, I mean, I think the whole interview is good. It flowed very well. I think it went from one thing to another, and of course I actually really liked when he was talking about the other literature adaptations that he's doing, because I hadn't noticed it until he said it, but that he's devoted his career to sort of books to movie adaptations. Like, that is very interesting, and it's something that's unique to him, and that he's done that. I went back and I looked at his filmography, and I'm like, oh yeah, these were all books, so it's very cool, and
And it's fun. There's also one bit, too. I don't know if you caught this, but I don't know if a lot of people listening the first time will have caught it. But he actually talks about making out with some girl.
What?
Yeah. At a party, yeah.
At a party when he was like, in his teens or whatever, which I thought was kind of funny. He's like, that's probably more information than you need. But I think he was talking about it in reference to one of his friends that he worked with.
Yeah, one of the guys at WB. Yeah,
he made out with
contact at WB.
No. He made out with like some girl
he
at this guy's party.
At this guy's party. And that was like the third question we asked him, was what led to that answer. And, right away we knew that it was going to be a great interview. Like, he was so candid. He was so personal and personable. He's just a great guy. Like, he's a guy I could foresee having back on, just to do Dueling Club even in the future. Special guest dueler.
He has time for that.
I really think that would stick out in his mind. Well, I mean, a lot of people will say when you posted that preview of we will have Heyman on, a lot of people were saying, "Wow, we can't believe you got him because he's so busy now." Like, it was pretty cool, and I think it was due to the fact that this is our 200th episode. That not that he sensed obligation or anything, but that even when we told him it was a 200th episode, he congratulated us, like, heartfeltly and genuinely. So I think that helped.
I mentioned this in the post too, and it was just interesting listening to how candidly he talked about if he hadn't moved back to London in 1999, if he had moved back 6 months later, if even probably 2 months, 3 months later, how he would not have been involved in Harry Potter and how his life would be completely different. And that's how he got into talking about his connection at WB and the girl he made out with when he was 16 or whatever it was. But it's just interesting, always kind of getting the background information on how people get involved with things. Like, we always hear about how Heyman was sitting in the theater with Dan Radcliffe and his parents, a couple rows up. And it's just to get that backstory and for him to be so open talking about it. That was kind of cool.
So now let's move along to Make the Connection. As I said, Jamie, unfortunately, he really wanted to be on this week, but he couldn't. But he made up some Make the Connections for us. Now, this is different from Make the Music Connection. The original segment we used to do on MuggleCast was called Make the Connection. So basically, Jamie would list something very obscure. These are very difficult, and you have to connect it to Harry Potter. So Eric, can I give you the first one?
Now, is it you reading them or is it Jamie reading them?
I'll read them.
An audio clip
I'll read them.
Oh, okay. Somehow that makes it less
I'll read
fun,
it in Jamie's accent if that helps.
Oh, that's cool.
Let me just get into it here. All right. I'm in. All right. Make the connection between Harry Potter and wondering whether Roger Federer's tennis racket has a picture of Marilyn Monroe in its wallet.
I think there's a lot of downtime in sports, and maybe not for the seeker. But on Quidditch, if you're sitting on the bench, or maybe Harry at tryouts, I think just in the locker room when you're getting changed in the books, you're thinking a lot of weird stuff and a lot of interesting stuff happens. And I think that would be kind of the thoughts going through their heads, sort of either before or after a game, probably before a game. You're just showering, you're waiting for the game to start. There's not a whole lot, and I think they would be thinking about tennis rackets and pictures of girls on them. I think that's very, not unheard of in school sports. So,
Micah, make the connection between Harry Potter and asking an atheist cactus whether it's ever been to Hawaii.
Jamie's just, he needs to write for like a television show or something like that, because he's just got this imagination that
do you want an easier one?
An atheist cactus, whether
it's ever
or not
been to Hawaii.
It's ever been to Hawaii. I guess that would be like asking the Whomping Willow where it came from. I really have nothing better than that.
That's true.
I'm sorry.
I mean, because the Whomping Willow can move, so you would think that could possibly get up and walk to Hawaii.
Maybe or it will throw itself to across the. What if the Whomping Willow had like a Jamaican accent? Like, what if instead of the shrunken head, the Whomping Willow had like a Jamaican accent, like, yeah, man, don't prod the nuts. You're gonna get underneath the. I don't know.
But an atheist cactus, I'm trying to think. Brilliant. Like, there's no real religion in the
series.
Nor
plants, like cactuses. I mean, yeah. You can compare it to the things that scream.
What about one for you, Andrew?
Okay, ask me one.
Okay.
Yeah. Do your Jamie. Don't do Simon Cowell. Andrew, you kind of sound like
sorry.
Simon Cowell. No,
I hear him
like
more
Jamie.
than I hear Jamie.
Are you going to give one to yourself?
You can
here,
give me one. So it doesn't...
All right. Make the connection between Harry Potter and eating a roast duck cooked by Tiger Woods aboard the International Space Station.
I could do the first half of that, but the aboard the International Space Station really throws me. So let's say that they're having a hard day, trying to solve all the mysteries of Hogwarts, and poor Harry, he's really hungry and he doesn't really want to go into he doesn't want to go into the Great Hall and ask, to get some food. So instead, him and Ron come up with the idea of going into the Forbidden Forest, and they find a duck, and they roast it, but they were planning on roasting it, but they actually run into Tiger Woods beforehand, and because he was in the Forbidden Forest looking for some trolls, and so he cooked the duck.
No, I think he's Andrew. I think he means some tail.
Some tail, yes. And then they roasted it, and then for a nice view while they ate, they headed up to the astronomy tower. I don't even know how we're supposed to connect these exactly. It's very...
Well, I think you're supposed to tie it like into the series. You don't necessarily have to reference exactly
right. Well, that's the best...
the duck could be like the feast in the Great Hall. Or
I put my new spin on it. Yes, that's a good one.
But I don't know how you tie in.
Well, maybe they just found out that somebody was cheating on someone, but there's no really cheating in the book. So that's how we play Make the Connection. And thanks, Jamie, for sending in those items. So to wrap up the show, we have 3 emails here: 2 Muggle mails and 1 chicken soup. Eric, could you read the first one from Emma?
Yes, Muggle mail from Emma. Could this be Emma Watson? 22 from the UK. Hello, MuggleCasters. I have never written in before, but wanted to say congratulations on reaching your 200th episode. I am one of the old crowd. I have been listening since the release of the very first MuggleCast and have never missed an episode. When you began, I was 17 and studying for my A-levels. I am now 22 and about to complete my master's degree. A lot has changed for me, and MuggleCast has grown just as much. You should all be very proud of what you have achieved, and we are also lucky to have grown up with Harry Potter. Keep up the fantastic work. Lots of love, Emma.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, that's another nice thing about the show. Like, we have really grown, and I mean, this could be said about any show, but a nice thing is that you can grow up with the show. It's sort of like a constant. It's always there. There's always MuggleCast lurking in the background, releasing.
But she said something, yeah. She also said, we are all so lucky to have grown up with Harry Potter, and I think that's
true.
It's true. If there were like a, I don't want to say tagline to the show, but that just seems to be that's echoed. That's a truth.
Micah, can you read the next email?
I can. The next email comes from Erin, also 22, but from Columbus, Ohio, and she says, I just want to take the time to show my appreciation of what you guys do. I started listening to MuggleCast way back at the beginning, but got away from it while I was in college because there wasn't enough time to listen. I recently got reacquainted with the show, and I have to say, it's even better than I remember it, which is quite the accomplishment since you all rocked at the beginning, too. I work a job that can at times be quite mind-numbing. I spend 8 hours a day staring at my computer, and every so often I get to type some numbers or letters, and I'm very grateful to have my job, and the people I work with are highly entertaining, but on our quieter days it can be very boring. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. I used to listen to music on my iPod all day, but that got old after a while, listening to the same music day after day. That's when I decided to get caught back up on MuggleCast. I listened to the most recent episodes on iTunes. Lately, I've been downloading the older episodes in the archives and working my way through the awesomeness. You guys give me great amusement when I'm bored out of my skull, and there's been more than one occasion at work where I've been caught laughing out loud at something you've said. Thank you for giving me things to think about and putting a smile on my face when things are dull. You guys rock. Thanks so much, Erin.
Thank you for that. Erin. Nice email.
It's awesome. We always post we post emails from people who are actively perusing the archives. I think, who are like, because it's a testament to how devoted and the support that we get, which we which really, makes us feel good.
Yeah, I was listening to episode 100 yesterday because I think I read somewhere somebody said they were listening. I was like, oh, let me pull it up. It's a good episode, but my God, at the beginning of the episode, I am talking so fast. And it's just because I was so nervous. Like, that was a huge event. And, oh man, I wish I could go back and talk slower. People enjoyed the episode, don't get me wrong, but in hindsight.
You guys all looked very good at that episode, by the way. You guys were all dressed up,
yeah,
right?
Gee, thanks, Micah.
Was there video? Because I thought there
was. You know what?
There was video.
And I think we had to pay to buy the tapes.
I kept asking you to get it.
Yeah, we have video. Yeah, we do a video. I don't know where it is. It's probably around here somewhere.
I just remember the light fixture nearly killed me, and I think it was Jamie too, who was next to me, because we had people on 3 levels. We had listeners on 3 levels of the store, I think. Or maybe just 2 levels. There was the floor we were on, and then the floor directly above us. Yeah, the floor directly above us at Waterstones.
And we said, hello.
Upstairs there were TVs, and we were doing shout-outs like, hello to just everybody. Are there actually people upstairs?
And then they all started stomping
and they started
feet.
stomping.
Yeah. And we could hear it, and they busted one of the light fixtures above us because
I think we heard the glass crack or something happened where the light maybe flickered, and
it was funny.
So we asked them to tone it down.
And the final email for today is a chicken soup from Cassie. Hey, MuggleCasters, I've been a long-time listener of the show, and I thought it was about time I emailed in and showed how much all of you have touched my life. I have BDD, body dysmorphic disorder, and it pretty much consumes my life. It makes getting out of bed hard, it's hard to go to work, and just be in public at all. It makes me anxious, among so many other things, and it's very hard to deal with. Whenever I have a bad day with it, I pick up my iPod and listen to episodes of MuggleCast, and honestly, it makes all the difference. You guys distract me with all your jokes and wonderful insight. I just want to say thank you all so much for everything you do, not only for the fandom, but for the fans and your listeners. You do a truly amazing job, and I look forward to every new episode like it's Christmas. Love always, Cassie. So thank you, Cassie, and we're glad we help you out as well. The show is somewhat therapeutic, because it's fun to do, and we just have a lot of fun. And knowing the impact it makes on several of our listeners is also, makes it worth doing alone. So,
yeah, we've had a lot of chicken soup over the course of 200 episodes.
We're kind of tired of soup.
we'll have to rename the segment.
Chicken peas.
It's metaphorical. It means it's warm you up inside.
It's always great, to hear from listeners and to know that, if there is something difficult that may be going on with them, that we're able to provide them, that sort of release just to get away, whether it's, an hour or, however long our show is. It's always it's touching to hear from, all those listeners.
So, I think that concludes this episode. It's been a great one. Thanks to David Heyman for coming on the show, and I should say thanks to all the hosts for 200 great episodes. Thanks, Micah and Eric, and Jamie and Ben and Matt and Laura, and everyone else has been on from time to time. Elisa,
Mikey
Kevin,
B and
Nick, Mikey B, of course.
Do we have Andy?
There's been a lot of characters on the show.
Harris
Janatakis, he was on our second episode.
Special thanks to this one's
for you,
Harris.
This one's for the listeners. And anyone else who's made a guest appearance on the show, everyone who's called in, the transcribers, all the listeners, thank you. And
everyone else who's come on the show, we've spoken with
special guests, Warwick Davis,
Mary Grand Prix, Patrick Doyle,
Jim Dale. Yeah, yep, good lineup. And now David Heyman. So, we want to encourage you, as always, to visit the MuggleCast website. It's got all the information that you'll need about the show. We have links to our iTunes page, where you can rate and review us. You can follow us on Twitter, and the URL is twitter.com/MuggleCast. You can also like us on Facebook, facebook.com/MuggleCast, and just visit MuggleCast.com for lots of information about the show. Episodes, transcripts, about us, pictures of Micah, whatever you want, it's there on MuggleCast.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Again, thank you for every episode you've listened to and for your support, and we will continue to bring you lots of excellent MuggleCast. I'm Andrew Sims.
I'm Eric Skull.
And I'm Micah Tannenbaum.
We'll see you next time for episode 201 with some reviews from us of the theme park.
For the theme park grand opening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you later. For the 200th time, good night. For the 200th time, get out of here. No, 200, I don't know. Okay.